Hey, everybody. Let's talk about another common question. When we define election violence, we talk about election violence as being physical violence, severe psychological violence, or destruction of property of monetary or symbolic value that is either motivated by an election cycle or intended to influence an election cycle. So, what's meant by severe psychological violence? That's not actually obvious to everybody. We talk a lot about language in our country. In the United States recently, we talk a lot about words as violence. And I'm not here to challenge whatever you believe about whether words are or are not violence more generally. But I want to tell you what we mean by psychological violence in this particular context. So, if we're talking about election violence, it does not mean that somebody is yelling at somebody. It doesn't include yelling and swearing and calling people names. In fact, it's even possible that hate speech might not rise to the level of severe psychological violence. But when we are talking about severe psychological violence, what we mean is ongoing and specific threats. Most often, these are threats that are made to one of two groups of people. Either they are made to somebody who has power over the election, so most often an election official, and the intention here is to get the person to stop doing their job, or they are threats that are made to a category of people that they are saying, we're going to threaten them enough that we can prevent them from voting. That's the other type of severe psychological violence that might happen. So again, when we're talking about election violence prevention, severe psychological violence generally means something along the lines of ongoing and really serious threats. And it's usually meant to interfere in some way with the election cycle, either by stopping people from administrating the election or by preventing people from voting. Next time we talk, we're going to go back to another way of thinking and talk about resilient and fragile communities and what that has to do with preventing election violence.